What's up, everyone? It is the Tesla Beat 108, and man, what a big week from the Model YL being released and all the specs, to a bunch of other topics which we are going to get into. How's everyone doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very tired because of the time difference. I'm in Nepal, where they are at 76% of new car imports are electric. So, of course, I had to come here, go to the NADA car show, getting all the coverage, figuring out what is going on. So, that's what I'm up to. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing, Hans?
Yeah, it's been a hectic week. A lot of news. Looking forward to talking about all this with you guys.
Yeah, I'm not doing great at all. Apparently, my Cybertruck still does not actually smart summon, and this is very frustrating. If anybody can reach out to anybody, maybe an Elon type character or someone like that, I'd be greatly appreciative of that. But I am not doing well, John. Not at all.
But a Mustang does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1960s
they're doing
Mustang.
great. I can reach out to someone like Elon, but not Elon. I could reach out to like Adrian Dittman if you like.
Hey, well, who knows? Some people say that's him. All
Poor
right,
People say
well.
a
Adrian,
lot of
man.
stuff.
We probably shouldn't keep that rumor going. But all right, so shout out to Joe. Excellent job on the deck this week. The stock is at 337 and is down only 11%, which it's recovered a lot. I mean, again, you're talking a huge spike after, the Trump administration had come in. All-time highs, I think 52-week highs was like 470. So just to be down only 11% is not bad. And then also too, I believe it's up what, like 50% year over year. I don't have that number exactly in front of me, but last year, we were down what, 35% pretty much the whole year. So it's come a long way and recovered, and a lot of exciting stuff, and we're gonna get into it. All right, so the big news of the week was obviously the Model YL, which is a six-seater only released right now in China. But what were your guys' thoughts on it? I don't have all of the specs. I can pull up some of the specs. Maybe while you guys are answering what your initial thoughts are, I can go ahead and look up some of the specs.
I love it. I love everything about it. It checks a lot of boxes. It's still a Model Y. It's still going to be the safest car in its class, but now you've actually got room there. You can actually, there are reviewers who are 5'10" who climbed back there with ease, and that C pillar it's not just the extra leg room you've got more headroom. The C pillar is taller. So it's great. It's got a bunch of other little things, the ventilated second row, the heated third row, little things, better sound as if we needed that. And in terms of cost, it's only a few $1,000s more, maybe four or $5,000 more in China. And we're seeing them in Berlin. And of course, there's speculation as to when, if at all, we will see it in the US, but that's something I'm sure we'll talk about.
Next slide. Don't give it away. But Hans or Joe, what were your guys' thoughts?
Go for it. Jay.
Joe, you're on mute.
No, I did that on purpose. Just check you guys. You guys, well done. You passed.
Mm.
Good job, you guys. You guys are crushing it this morning. No, so I think it's awesome. I think 6 seats is, I mean, everybody wants a 6 seat. They wanted a 6 seat Cybertruck. They want a 6 seat everything. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it works.
Yeah, I love the obviously having captain seats in the second row instead of benches. Big upgrade in functionality for families. I think this is going to be a big hit with a lot of consumers in China. I think it would be a big hit or will be a big hit with consumers here in the United States when and if it comes. And obviously the ease of adding this specific configuration of the Model Y to an existing line of Model Y production that's very, very, very common parts on so much of the vehicle. Now it is distinct, it is different. It's not going to be, super easy, but much easier than some of the different types of other niches of the overall vehicle lineup that people want to see from Tesla. Like, it would be a lot harder for Tesla to come up with an even bigger, full size 3-row SUV in the Sequoia, Suburban Yukon XL type size compared to this. And I think this is, a vehicle segment that has a lot of demand for it as well, and would be a great thing. It's obviously a great thing in China, and I think would be a great thing here in the United States. And, the one thing that I'll give Elon on his, he's either sandbagging, which I think is likely, or he actually believes that there is a possibility that Cybercab is so disruptive to the US auto market in such a short time frame that it then doesn't matter, in which case investors win either way. So I wouldn't be too disappointed about his comments around this just yet.
Well, have we heard what Gary Black has to say? I was going to add there's even points to connect the car seats in the third row. So the third row is now genuinely usable for that purpose. And there are something like 38,000 orders for it in China. This isn't like Cybertruck or Roadster, where these are orders for something that may or may not come out this year, next year, who knows? We don't even know the price. No, we know the price. We know when it's happening. These are real orders. So that tells me this is a very hot seller in a market where I was told by a lot of people big cars just wouldn't sell. It's got demand. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, I think just some of the specs as far as the length comparison. The R1S 201 inches, Model X 199, the EV9 197, and then the Model YL 194 versus the Model Y today is 187. So it's definitely like hitting that the length of some of these other ones from a comparison standpoint. And then some of the other, I think, key specs, this was all, I think, kind of mentioned, but starting price is 47,000 USD or 339,000, 100,000 yen, 525 miles of range, which is crazy. Or sorry, yeah, I think that's the Chinese standard
Yeah,
versus like
Yeah,
CLTC.
it's
WLTP.
327 here in the
Was it?
US, 0 to 62 miles in 4.5 seconds, and then about 90 inches of cubic feet storage. So my thoughts were like I do think that this is going to be I do think that there's definitely a place in the market for it. Clearly it's being received well in China, and I would agree with Brian's sentiment. I think even if you brought this to Europe, it would do well as well, in my opinion, even though yes, there is a market for very small cars, just depending on where you are, but not everyone lives in completely in the city. And but more importantly, like China is a market where it's known for like very small cars, and I think that Europe is very similar in that, because when I was there in Italy this past 2 weeks, like there's just a ton of small cars there. So I see that as still being a market to fit potential, or not a market to fit, but that's the main part of the market. But there is a need for these bigger vehicles, and I think we'll see. I think the next slide we'll get into kind of some of the stuff that was mentioned earlier. I think that Hans was mentioning, but I think that the car, I think they did a really good job with it. I think again, that middle seat, like in the second row not being there is a game changer. If you're familiar with the Model X, if you're about 6'2", that middle kind of like seat where in the second row that's not there kind of becomes a space where you can like put your feet and you can fit back there. Again, still going to be smaller than the Model X, as we know. But really it's the best bang for the buck. I mean, just being able to kind of pop up those seats, like, even if you have 5 people in your family, you don't need to pop up every seat. You still get the storage, kind of like in the Model X. It's very similar. And I do think that this is a better competitor against like the Toyota CRV, or sorry, the Honda CRV and the Toyota RAV4. I think that I do think that they should bring it to the US, but won't steal that thunder. I'm gonna pass that to Joe to why do we keep mentioning the US with the Model YL, Joe?
Oh, it's kind of crazy. This guy, does he even work at the company? People say. Anyway, so yeah, seriously, the Model Y it looks like it's going to be a great thing. I like the ventilated charge ports, by the way. That's pretty cool. But thanks to Holmars, he's not going to say anything until the international release. Obviously, people think he just forgot about these deliberate choices. But Elon says this variant of the Model Y doesn't start production in the US until end of next year. Might not ever, given the advent of self-driving in America. But like Han says, it's like, come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I,
And
I know people with VCR still.
yes. Well, so they did add, to clarify what Joe was saying is, you know, the phone toaster that sits between the driver and the passenger that burns your phone up while giving it a little bit of juice. There's now a little vent that blows cool air on it so that it doesn't ruin your phone. That's a feature we've seen very commonly from Chinese cars. It makes sense that if they're going to first sell it in China, they should at least try and keep up with what a lot of the Chinese cars are doing. And yeah, we've also seen test vehicles in Berlin. It looks as though they are already trial manufacturing in Berlin, so this will go to the European market. When will it come to the US? Will it? I know Elon has a tremendous amount of confidence in FSD and believes that once Robotaxi starts rolling out nationwide, people will stop buying cars. But this is the guy who doesn't own a house. People still buy houses. So I think his ambition may be looking at his own perspective too much and not realizing that there are going to be people who will just cling to the traditional way of car ownership forever. This may take a whole generation before it shifts. And I've seen people say, well, if it's so much cheaper to just ride around in a robotaxi, why wouldn't people do that? It's like, well, there's got to be profit in it. We have to wait until that happens. Until robotaxi is cheaper than owning a car, people will still choose to own a car. A lot of people. There will be a shift. It will take time. And I suspect the amount of time it will take before car ownership is no longer really something you think about is a date later than the Model YL would reach end of cycle anyhow. So I see value in pursuing both, especially since they're different teams. And if you're doing all the Cybercab stuff in Austin, you could do the YL in Fremont. Doesn't take up any headspace, doesn't take up any space. It's built on the same line. And they already retooled it when they did Juniper, so all the pieces fit.
Yeah, I think. Oh, Hans, I think you're on mute.
I just said yep.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you think? I would love to get your thoughts. Do you think it's going to be coming to the US?
I think it's likely or something very close to it. And part of that is unless, well, okay, so here's the argument that Dave Lee made that I can kind of agree with, or at least see the logic behind that. If we like, the US market is the most unregulated and the easiest access market for robotaxis to really get the earliest traction. And if we end up in a world, this is the comments that Elon has made around, we'd like to have seeded the markets where 50% of the US population lives with robotaxis by the end of the year. And we see them, doing a lot of testing in a lot of different big city geographies around the United States right now, and doing kind of the pre-validation. They really are just all in on autonomy here in the United States as the primary focus of the business overall. That is, a far larger priority than expanding vehicle lineup, as we have, seen extensively over the past several years. And so if we are in a situation, or if Elon believes that we're in a situation next year where they want to put out autonomy first vehicles, that even if you do want this nice family 6-seat version of a vehicle to fill out an overall robotaxi lineup of cars, that maybe it's not actually a Model YL that you do that with. Maybe it is something that's going to be manufactured with an unboxed process instead of on current existing Model Y lines. And, maybe it doesn't have a lot of the insane driver experience that the Model Y does. The acceleration, the handling, the braking, all of the factors that make it really fun for normal consumers who are not using it as a robotaxi to enjoy, but really provide no extra value to the robotaxi specific use case. And so I can definitely understand some reasoning for Tesla not to bring this to the United States. And like, I think that's where, maybe Elon is being truthful when he says it may not come to the United States. But I don't think that decision has been made by any stretch of the imagination. That's why he said may, not won't. And so, yeah,
On
my overall, yeah, go for it.
on
Brian.
Dave's point, yes, on Dave's point, I would say that the people, the engineering's already done for the YL. They can just do it. If what we're looking at is something that's a whole new vehicle, it's tough to argue that they don't have headspace to release the YL, which is done, but they do have headspace to design a 6-seat robotaxi via unboxed method. I find that a difficult proposition to wrap my head around. But the beauty is it's not up to us, and we'll find out soon enough.
No, that's a good point, Brian. We don't know what we don't know. So I think
what is
I
your
think
opinion?
my opinion is that it will eventually come, but you just kind of realize these sort of things are like, to Elon, he just lives so far advanced past us that he just sees things differently. And I don't think he's off, but I think he's not understanding, like, Americans are just slow to adopt things, man. They just, and it sucks to say that, but we are really slow to adopt new technologies and everything. It just has to be that much better than the old tech. And self-driving is, while it's great, and I mean, I've taken Robotaxi and I've been in Waymos and all that type of stuff, but people really think they're better drivers than robots. People are really that delusional to think that they can drive better than the tech. So yeah, it's just a wild time, man.
People compare what the robotaxi's worst moment is with their own best moment. It did this little thing wrong. I wouldn't have done that. Well, maybe not, but you would have done 10 other things wrong. So, I mean, let's cut some slack here. And I'm just hoping that more people are getting the word that our efforts, even when we have to do it one by one, to show people that people are getting to understand that this is real and it works.
Yeah.
Please, if you are in the Pacific Northwest and you need a ride in FSD, I will do that. It's exciting. It's fun. And it's all we can do, really.
Brian's lying. He's currently in Nepal. He cannot assist you.
I didn't mean this week. I mean when I'm back. And in Nepal, I'm telling you, FSD this is a boss battle city right here. It's going to take maybe a change in the roads before it'll work because I have driven here. I got to drive. It is terrifying. I am still traumatized from 20 minutes of way out at the edge of the city driving. It is not for humans, let alone machines.
Yeah. I think so. My opinion is, I do think that, we'll see at the end of the day what will happen. I think we need to get through this Q3. There's going to be a lot of pull forward demand that's happening. We obviously have not seen a new vehicle. I mean, I guess this technically would be considered a new vehicle, but there's several other products that are supposed to come out this year, right? So supposedly, so we'll see. And again, who knows? As we know, Tesla will focus on the 9010, so they could be completely focused on FSD and solving autonomy first before, and maybe some of that stuff gets pushed out and deprioritized. I do remember at the X takeover, I asked Elon, like, how do you, deal with car sales and autonomy coming? And he had to stop the question because also too, it wasn't probably the right moment as people asking, like, because they revealed a new product and then he was able to kind of answer and speak to something, right? But I think that's always going to be an issue. And especially too, he did say on the Robotaxi fleet, Tesla will own some, but also too, there will be private citizens and owners who own it as well. The one thing that potentially could limit it here is, Fremont's already at I don't see them building a second line for the Model YL if unless they can build it on the same line, unless they are. It sounds like based on what Brian's saying that it would be the same line, but I could see if they had to build like a lot of extra lines or something else to differentiate the two, that could cause limitations here in Fremont. Versus, in Texas, I would assume that they have a lot more space that they can work with. You're on mute.
Texas isn't
Good test.
running full shifts. Good test. You guys passed. Texas could add a shift. Shanghai was maxed out, and they're doing YL now too. So it is the same. We know it's
Never
on the
mind
same
then.
lines. Yeah. So, but what I would suspect they would do is just increase the output in Texas where they have surplus capacity on the existing lines, and then maybe have Fremont do the YL. But there's a bunch of ways they could do it, and I'm confident they know what they're doing.
Just a little. All right. Well, with that
I
said,
mean, yeah, right.
of course. No, I'm joking. All right. So we know that 2026 is when the semi is coming. They're building the second the semi gigafactory right next to the gigafactory 1. So this is imminent, and so I think shout out to Zangler. He looked at the job openings, and there's 62 semi jobs for Giga Semi in Nevada.
Great.
So they are turning up, ramping, and moving forward. So really exciting. And again, I do love how I love how Lars, talked about when we interviewed him. He was like, my favorite project right now is actually the semi. It's probably the most overlooked and underestimated. So I think, people don't, at least from the interviews I've seen, people that are legacy truck drivers who've driven trucks for decades, once they go to the semi, they love it and they don't want to switch back, at least based on some of them, the small observations that I've seen in the interviews that have been put out. So really exciting times here at Giga Nevada, or the Giga Semi factory in Nevada.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. 62 jobs is wild, and just gonna keep going. So it's pretty awesome to see that they're even looking forward to that, because every time Zane posts something about that area, you just realize, like, man, that's moving really quickly. Like, it was just a dirt lot, and now it's like building structures. Like, it's moving fast. It's pretty crazy.
All right, Joe, this one's to you. FSD's global.
Yeah, we shouldn't tell anybody. People aren't really aware. But here it is. Sawyer Merritt says, we've now seen Tesla FSD Supervised successfully tested by the company in Italy, Netherlands, Japan, Spain, UK, Germany, France, Australia, Canada, US, China, Mexico, Puerto Rico. I mean, it's just like, it's just taken over, man. And like Brian says, like, once you drive it, it's different. I mean, you realize that of course we realize that because we drive it every day, but there are so many areas that do not have this tech and they have no idea what it's about, and they're experiencing it for the first time, and they are blown away, like China was with all their battle testing. Like, the stuff that China was doing early on with FSD was like bonkers, man. So you already know people are going to try and push it to its limits, and it's just wild that people try to break everything Tesla does. It's hilarious.
Well, and this list is really underselling it, because
Yeah.
it's not Italy that we saw it tested in. It was Rome. It wasn't France. It was Paris around the Arc de Triomphe. It is the hardest parts of those countries in many cases. And it wasn't just Puerto Rico. It was anywhere in Puerto Rico. It's a crazy place. I spent a summer there for work. It was a whole thing. Anyway, this is, and when I saw the slide, I didn't think it said shh. I thought it said FSD is going global-ish, because it really is. It is, once regulatory approval is handled in these countries, it's going to be there. And that means new revenue streams. It means more training for every weird case around the world. And a lot of countries will have similarities in how they drive to their neighbor countries. So that's also going to be helpful in terms of getting quick advancement for new markets that are not yet on that list.
V14. Well, I guess who cares about 13 anyway? A guy, an analyst, William Blair, is impressed by the Robotaxi per ray. He put this quote out. It felt more like a human was driving. Felt like more like a person who was driving, while Waymo still feels somewhat robotic. And then Elon responded, version 14 Tesla self-driving feels sentiment. And then he said he was just on version 13. Version 14 is the second biggest update to Tesla AI slash autopilot ever after V12. It feels alive. And then I think Sawyer, yeah, so Sawyer put that out as well. But either way, it's it's really exciting. I mean, I know V13, and again, we're talking V13 as far as FSD supervised, and I believe he's talking about um the Robotaxi software, and potentially a little bit about the consumer. But all that to say is that V13 has been great. And so and we know that this is also Elon right now, who's laser focused, and at um he's in the Bay Area. He's working with the team's sleepless nights, and he's clearly very laser focused on solving autonomy right now. And so, I think he's never disappointed. Sure, he needs to hype this, but it's also, this is what he's laser focused on. And I think it's really exciting, because I think what gets me most excited about the Robotaxi is not only that it's a Robotaxi that you can go, like, because like when I go to Austin or San Francisco or Mountain View, I can hail a Waymo, and it's like, that's cool. But this is a product that you could own, that at some point will get some updates that has those capabilities, which makes it really exciting. So I think it's just yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, I think anybody who's driven in both Waymo and FSD, even your current FSD that you're in, like you can tell the difference. Like that was a very good analogy from him, saying that it feels robotic versus like human like. And because it you get that. You honestly understand that. I've driven people around, and when I tell them like hey, we were on FSD, I was like, what? I couldn't even tell. I didn't even, you know what I mean? Like it it just happens like that. People just honestly feel like, oh, you're just driving. They had no idea.
Was
One of the things that I'll add is that, JD, who is behind AI Driver, he has basically concluded that he thinks that the current Robotaxi fleet that is operating in Austin is actually based on V13, not this V14 stack. And that was, just his extensive testing of FSD and really trying to find the limitations of all of its capabilities. And he said there are just things that Robotaxi software does that seem similar to the types of flaws that version 13 has. That yes, it's obviously a little better and more refined in quite a few ways, but foundationally that it was based on version 13. So this comment by Elon, I think, it's not 100% certainty confirmation, but it certainly would lend extra credibility to JD's observation, which I think is actually really good news for our expectations, both for consumer FSD, but also for Robotaxi functionality. Like if they've been able to build this on just version 13 software, and this version 14 software is going to be such a big update, then we should be able to see the capabilities of Robotaxi software continue to accelerate in a big way as well. And Tesla's ability to do this, I think the other thing is that this helps to make sense of why FSD version 13 has kind of stagnated on our customer vehicles for a while, is that they've been making progress on this model that is now, it has become version 14 internally, that, they were doing things to make it better. And then they have ideas. It's like, okay, we could do that and we could ship this as a point update for version 13, but it worked so well that what if we just take it a little bit farther? What if we take it a little bit farther? What if we take it a little bit farther? And they did that so many times, and they have turned the crank, behind the scenes in the background to make such an incredible update that it's going to be more than worth the wait for all of us. And I think even going to be something that Hardware 3 owners get to enjoy the fruit of as well. Not at the same time as Hardware 4, but once version 14 rolls out to Hardware 4 customers, I don't think it's going to be that long before there is a major update that is also shipped to Hardware 3 customers. It's going to be a huge thing for them as well. So I think this is going to be an incredible tailwind for autonomy here in the United States across, like I said, all of the main business lines of and vehicles for Tesla. The Robotaxi, the version, the Hardware 4 cars that consumers have, and the Hardware 3 cars that consumers have.
Joe, this one's to you.
So yeah, this is pretty cool that Tesla is doing this. Tesla has introduced a new feedback feature. You can report FSD issues such as mapping issues, service-related, robotaxi, blah, blah. But Tesla routes your feedback to their respective teams, and they track the closure. Like there was also a thing put out like Echo something, like wherever your task goes to, whatever you put. So this is like a way more detailed feature that people have been kind of wanting for a while for you to complain about or just have your opinions about. And I think it's way better than, because when you press the button in the vehicle when it does something, I mean, that just goes into the ether and maybe somebody sees it immediately, but you never really know. Whereas this is being routed specifically to somebody. And I think, like we say this a lot, but there's a lot of times in the company where people move on from separate departments or just go on to do other things. And whoever was running that ran it so well that nobody knew nothing about it. And I think like that push button feature in the vehicle is just one of those type of things that they just realize, like, I think we can do better than that now. And I think that's where we're at. It's going to go to somebody, multiple somebodies, apparently.
Well, and the feedback doesn't have to be FSD related. It can be I'm unable to figure out how my charging my bill have the credit card on it, whatever. It can be anything, and they'll see it. So that's great. It's easier than having to go on X and hope that John reposts your tweet.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
All right. The Cybertruck for the low. Looks like there is updated pricing for the Cybertruck Cyberbeast specifically. So obviously we know this the long range rear wheel drive about 70,000, all wheel drive is 80,000, and the latest update obviously is the Cyberbeast at 115K. Up from about 100,000, and it's because it includes the following now. So again, this is the Cyberbeast trim. FSD supervised 4-year premium service, which includes wheel and tire protection, windshield protection, and recommended maintenance, and unlimited supercharging and premium connectivity and 0% financing. So I think clearly also too, this is going to be a differentiator in that the S and the X now are 95,000 and I think 100,000 starting, whereas the Cybertruck is 70 and 80,000. So I think that's also, it did create that differentiation and kind of again putting the more premium vehicles higher. But what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, actually, I don't think we may have talked about this last week, but what were your guys' thoughts on this like luxe package that they've added on the Cyberbeast now, and also too that they've put on the S and the X? Do you think it'll continue to? I mean, obviously, you're talking small cells in general on these vehicles, but do you think it'll potentially accelerate the cells, slow it down a little bit, or what do you think the overall sentiment will be?
I'll go first really quick. I don't understand why they would do this. I don't know anybody with a Cybertruck that likes it. So it's really bizarre that they would raise the price on this 15 grand for a vehicle that nobody apparently wants. But yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys think. Brian?
Well, worth noting that the Cybertruck, both the rear wheel drive and all wheel drive, are also going up in price because of the removal of the federal credit at the end of September. Get your orders in now, and that especially goes for 3 and Y. They are already looking at 4 to 6 weeks delivery. If you place an order today, you may not get it in time. So that's something you definitely want to do. These are not big selling cars. We saw the other line item, which is SX and all Cybertruck, and the Cyber Beast is the most expensive version of it. Adding another 15,000, I don't know how price sensitive buyers at 100,000 are to begin with. There are people that all of us know who really stretched because they really wanted a Plaid or really wanted the X or whatever. But that, I don't think that's the majority. I think the majority are people who are less price sensitive, who, debate between putting 150,000 down on an electric Porsche. It's possible. So I think the beauty of it is Tesla's very good at their analytics, and in a month's time, we'll know if this was the right approach or not, and they can adjust it.
For people who don't know the history of what Tesla does with their pricing, be advised that Tesla will raise their prices just so they can lower them later. So I imagine that when that tax credit goes away, these prices are going to come down across the board, and people are going to be upset about something else. So just wait for that to happen. Not financial advice.
One little thing that I'll add on the luxe package, I know for the Cybertruck, and it doesn't look like maybe it's on for the S and the X, but the inclusion of the 0% APR financing for that actually makes the addition of that luxe package totally worth it from a financial perspective. So adding FSD and 0% financing basically pays for the additional price that you're getting. So I think the value is there on the Cybertruck that you're getting. If you're not getting the 0% APR and you're looking at the S or the X, then maybe it is a little bit more questionable for certain people. But if they do include that buy down of the loan to 0% APR, then that's definitely something that people should keep in their mind as they're looking at those prices.
That's a good, I love the analogy of essentially the payment is with 0%, it's essentially FSD for free. All right. So Joe, this is one to you.
Leasing gang. So the Model Y, this is pretty crazy. You're talking $225 a month, $0 down. All of this is just wild. And actually, Chris Bowe, who's the Ford guy, called me up yesterday, and he was talking on X like he wants to get one for his wife. So this is Tesla makes these moves, and they have so many levers to pull, and it's just you don't really realize it until things like this happen. Nobody saw this coming 6 months ago. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And the Lux package and all these things that are just like levers that Tesla is just pulling all over the places. It just shows that they don't rest on their laurels, or they're trying to do whatever they can to get move the units. And it's pretty impressive to see that they're still battle ready. That's pretty awesome.
Well, this can't be real. I was told that Teslas are expensive and only rich people drive them. Here's my question. I'll start with Hans, and I want to hear it from all of you. If I had told you 2 weeks ago that Tesla was going to do this, would you have believed me? Would you have believed that was even possible? We're going to be doing used leases, 0 down, 160, 180 bucks for a Model 3, low twos for a Model Y. Would you have believed it?
I would have thought that it was possible, but I would have thought that it was highly, highly unlikely. And so seeing them actually do this, I think this is going to be one of the big levers that they have to pull in fighting back against the removal of the EV tax credits that's moving forward. And I think, this is a really smart move when, if like me, Elon and Tesla believes that those hardware 3 vehicles that a lot of these are going to be are actually going to run Robotaxi software in the future just fine, then they get to finance getting to keep these vehicles on their balance sheet until such time that they can be turned into robotaxis at a customer's expense. So I think this is a very smart business move overall.
It's funny. We are all talking about all of these numbers and levers and stuff like that, but we don't even mention the competition because it's like Tesla just so much in their own lane that it's like not even a priority to think like, oh man, they're trying to do this to keep up with so and so, or so and so's on their heels. It's not even about that. Tesla's just doing what Tesla does because Tesla wants to, and I think that can't be understated.
When it comes to FSD, this was a question a friend of mine asked me and Herbert at lunch one day. Who is in second place? And we were stumped. I can't see second place in the rearview mirror. Maybe you guys have some guesses who could possibly be anywhere, even in the same game as Tesla.
No, it's really not even close. And people with like the Hyundai who can do like lane keep and stuff like that, like it's freeway only, and same thing with the Ford. I have a cousin who has the Mach-E, and I mean we've seen these things come to pass. Like yeah, these are great if you don't know better, but then once you know better, it's like man, it's like you say, there's really just no competition. And people think that they're at that same level because, oh, well, the Mercedes can, yeah, no, it cannot. I in my Cybertruck, I can start from my driveway, head out, and that's it. Like it's just a game
Yeah.
changer. It's different.
You know, I think for the longest time, Tesla, like when you think of the Model 3, geez, 7 years ago when it launched, there were so many like X, Y, and Z things you could just like continue to, say were better. And even the Model S when it came out in 2012, 13, 14, it like Steve Jurvetson went into it. It was just like literally the best premium vehicle you could buy. And then same thing, at the price point, the Model 3 had all of these things. And now let's say, as now there's electric vehicles on the road, and like you get into like a BMW or Mercedes EQS or whatever, sure, maybe some of the luxurious features are a little bit better, but at the end of the day, it's like there is no, like, when you experience a Tesla, like, and again, their business model is different, because the problem that's still going to hurt these legacy autos, the ball and chain, is the dealerships, or as I call it, the stealerships, who want you to come in for some type of maintenance, to come pay for some software update, to come and do something where you can pay, $250 per hour in labor. That's literally the business model. The OEMs are not making the money. They're not the ones profiting, right? It's the additional markups that make the money. And so, like, for me, it's like, at least from what I've been seeing, what in the social media that I consume, especially, there's like a lot of people, especially in their early 20s, who are just coming up and seeing this. They're like, they don't want to tinker with their cars. They want a car that's going to be like, an iPhone or something that just works, that's simple. It's got the simplified operating system. You press a button, you go. When do you, like, once a year, when you take your car to get a car wash or putting in neutral, and you forget, but like, it's just one of those things where it's like, that's the newer generation, and a lot of them are starting to wake up to that. And as Joe was saying, it's like he wakes up in the morning, he gets in his car, pulls out, and he goes to the car, drives himself. That's literally like unheard of, and it's still, there's nothing that does that. And now you add on a road trip, the whole road trip becomes, it takes a little bit longer, but the drive is not harsh on your body, and it doesn't make you exhausted and your eyes strained after like 10 hours. So there's just a lot of things that, and even from a maintenance and and cost perspective, excuse me, like, owning an EV is not, they didn't just, try to do this to make it more environmentally friendly. Like, no, Elon literally, like, his whole goal was to make a better car in every single facet, and that's what they've done. So when you look at the cost of ownership, a Model 3 is cheaper over 5 years than a Toyota Corolla, which has been, the best-selling car, and really just kind of like the kingpin when it comes to reliable, safe, economical, all of that. And to get a car that is better than that is just it's just crazy. So, all right, well, moving on, unless someone else wanted to say something. So, something we didn't need the NHTSA to tell us, the 5 stars for the Cybertruck. So, as Sawyer said, so it got a 5-star safety rating for both the driver and passenger independent scores from the NHTSA, on top of the overall 5-star rating it already received back in February. So I think this is huge. I think this is not something like I think I told I think Joe and I had multiple conversations about this over the past 15 months, where I think the Cybertruck may go down as one of the safest vehicles ever made, right? And this continues to show that. And I think people forget that Tesla knows what the legacy auto cars safety standards are. They raise it higher. And this actually may be the reason why it doesn't get into Europe, because of these, how safe it is and how sturdy it is. But all that to say is that, driving in a Tesla is literally is making the people in your car safer, right? It's just, if someone, as we know, we were talking earlier, right, with autonomy coming, people that want to say that they're better than a computer driving, it's like, sure, they maybe 1 out of 10 times, but at the end of the day, specifically in your Tesla, like when someone is stupid or drunk or something and something happens, it actually can benefit you and save your life if you're in a Tesla. Again, not financial advice.
Well, but I will say, for safety advice, this is a safe car. We saw when it first came out, I saw endless dummies saying the fact that it hasn't, we don't have the testing, proves that it's never going to pass. And it's like, that's not how the NHTSA doesn't just test it before it's out. They test it on a schedule, and when it's your turn, you get tested. That's it. So this is, of course, it's going to be the safest in its class. That's just how Tesla is. They are uncompromising on crash worthiness. And also, you notice there's not like a lot of fires in the news anymore. They're still in the news whenever there is a fire, but there's fewer than ever, because batteries have gotten better, and Tesla's most of the sales, and they were already quite good. 5 stars. Anything else would surprise me.
Yeah, like Brian says, either you love your family or you don't. And he's absolutely correct, you guys. You have to, you have to really.
Yeah, I love Joe's family.
No, man. Yes. You know what? The fact that
One
it got
family here.
5 stars for passenger and for driver is one thing, besides the overall 5-star safety rating. I mean, like Brian said, it really does it just proves the point. Like, people thinking that Tesla would make a vehicle that wasn't safe was just stupid to even think that that would be something that they would do. So we knew we knew it was safe. We knew Tesla makes safe vehicles. Like, all their vehicles are 5-star safety rated, but this was just like hitting them over the head with facts after facts. Like, it is what it is. You can't say that it's not.
The only thing I'll quickly add here is that I think this safety performance is one of the things that made it take so long to actually bring the Cybertruck to market. Is that, there was a lot of stuff that had to go into making a car that looked the way Elon wanted to look, but performed from a safety perspective like this. And my guess is that it's more those factors than the manufacturability factors that actually led to the architecture that is, more traditional and more like the way that most other Teslas are made, less of that unibody, just stainless steel exoskeleton idea that originally was implemented. That probably was very difficult to actually get the type of safety performance that we're seeing from the Cybertruck right now. And I think that's one of the gaps in between, some of the hopes and dreams for what Cybertruck would be and what it actually is.
Boom. Boom. I love it.
Anybody hear that mic drop? It was loud, man.
Yeah, he threw it on the ground pretty much without having to do it. And with mic drops comes more safety. Joe, I'll pass this one to you since you're a Cybertruck fan.
Never heard of it, but Cybertruck Under Armour, yeah, it's a thing. So the Cybertruck terrestrial armor package is $3,500, and it goes underneath the entire vehicle. I put the picture up of that side
The
skirt
rocker.
because yeah, that rocker panel, because that is, you'd have to touch it. It's like gritty. It's like it's gonna snag your clothes. That's pretty wild I mean, it's like, it's rough. It's not like something that's just like smooth or whatever. This is a serious upgrade. You're talking like full under the body shield, left and right rocker panels. Like Tesla went all out, and there's a couple people who tested it and got it early on, and it's proven to be pretty awesome. I am kind of disappointed that Tesla, for the Cybertruck anyway, like a lot of these things that, because Elon made a big point of like, oh, there's a whole team working on stuff to come out for the Cybertruck. In the aftermarket, third-party suppliers are just like nailing it. Like Unplugged Performance has had way more things for the Cybertruck than Tesla has, and there's like a few companies out there just like making all this stuff and like tents and like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, man, they gotta get on it if they're really gonna start releasing stuff. They really got to get on it.
Ben from Unplugged is kind of a beast when it comes to this stuff. He knows what he's doing, and he was there. I mean, he had accessories pretty much 99% designed and tooled and ready to go. He just needed the final measurements. So shout out to them for the amazing work they do. Yeah, they were on the job on that one.
Yeah, for me, I have the Unplugged Invincible line, front and back bumper and the two rockers. And I'll be honest, it's like the thing is officially a tank now. I mean, you do not want to be hit
Yeah.
by this car, otherwise you will be crumpled. And so, I wanted to make sure, me and the family and the goods were protected, obviously. But I will say that, the aftermarket, I mean, it's great to see that Tesla's putting this out, but I can also see too where they're going to continue to, again, with Tesla, it's the 90-10. So they're going to focus on obviously making cool things, but they're going to focus on, where the priorities are. And I do think that the aftermarket, companies like Urander, I put a rack on my car. I have a camper now, and now I can literally just push it up. It goes all the way up, and I have a two sleeper on top of my truck now. And again, it's just works. It's super simple. I can figure it out, which says a lot. I'm not a handy guy, just to be honest, not one of my talents. But all that to say is that, there's a lot of companies like Unplugged, Urander, and Cybertruck
Mars
Co.,
and yeah,
Mars,
Cybertruck
all
Co.
these companies are just doing a really good job to just build out the ecosystem. And with that said, Tesla Unreal. Tesla's in-car graphics may soon run on Unreal Engine, spotted in firmware 2025.20. The upgrade would boost Autopilot and FSD's visuals for Model S and X with AMD chips. Cannot wait for this. So it looks like, obviously kind of with, I think, the latest AMD chips, what was it, the Kaizen. Either way, I think there was huge updates to the graphics. So it looks like this could potentially be the next wave.
Yeah, you could kind of see. Well, I don't know if this is Unreal or not, but with the graphics that they were showing on the Model YL, it looked pretty impressive.
All right, Joe, this one's to you.
Tesla Energy making moves. Okay, so the Eureka Swan Bank battery energy storage system project achieved practical completion submission. They delivered a plant system, high voltage substation, and connection assets in the yard. 138 megapacks. I mean, this is like insane. Completed testing and commissioning. They have transformed their former coal-fired Swan Bank B power station into a 250 megawatt to 500 megawatt battery system. I think like it can't be understated. Like if when they're transferring coal systems into, well, for one, for people who don't understand how the switchover works, you're with the battery you have, it's so vastly faster and better for the grid switchover than it is for like coals and everything else. Like this just is seamless, and especially with the software that Tesla has integrated into it too. It just way better. And you can see like all these companies that are buying mega packs, they realize that once it's been proven, it's like, okay, this is the way to go.
All right. So one thing we wanted to see, I think Hans always got the eyes out there looking. So Hans, I'll pass this one to you. You spotted this.
Yeah, so this was there was a flyover that happened at or not Giga, the Fremont factory, and Luca, there was these casting sub-assemblies that were spotted. And so this is something that Luca shared that are screenshots from the flyover. And let me see real quick if I can find whose flyover that actually came out of so that we can credit them.
That would have been Met God in Wilderness, is the only drone pilot I know who covers Fremont, unless it was someone out of the ordinary.
The
Yeah, I was
linked
thinking that.
thing is from Tesla Chan, who shared the video. But anyways, this is a very interesting little sub-assembly that we see here. And so I wanted to ask Brian, what does this look like? Cybercab rear body sub-assemblies for the unbox process to you, or is it possibly, it also looks like the shape of a Cybertruck, rear body thing as well. So if you look at the picture on the right, that is the castings that we've seen at Giga Texas that we assume are for the Cybercab. We don't know that for sure. But you've got that big hole right in the middle of it, and then you don't see that big hole in these castings at Fremont. And so anyways, it's a very interesting thing, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on what the possibilities are.
So it could be, it's really tough to say because the ones in the blurrier photo look like a front assembly. So I think the ones that we're seeing from Texas, the ones hanging in the rack, those are that's the back end. That is clearly to me the back of a Cybercab. Why they'd be casting them in Fremont, all I can assume is that they have excess capacity to run a trial of them. But my question for you would be, why would you start casting Cybercab parts unless your only obstacle to rolling these out is removing the observer, the passenger seat observer? Once you've got that person gone, roll them out. It's time, right? And if version 14, which we believe is coming next month, is going to do that, we may immediately see a transition to Cybercabs. Now, you don't want to be casting half of your parts in Fremont and the other half in Texas and then shipping them. But if you're only talking about 3 or 4 truckloads, it's not a problem, especially if you've got the excess capacity right now. Now, when it comes time to actually making the Cybercabs, if they don't have enough dedicated presses, they'll just run one full speed, change it out, run the back end, the other half full speed. But to me, what this says is Cybercab is perhaps ahead of schedule compared to what a lot of the skeptics were thinking, which was maybe end of next year, maybe never. And I'm looking at this saying we might see new ones. The ones made today are not built using castings because they were hand built. They were one at a time built. And we know that for the ones at We Robot. The ones the ones that we've seen since then, testing in Texas, could have come off the unboxed pilot line that we know exists at the southwest corner of Giga Texas. But these would be real, design locked,
like release candidate.
Candidate, exactly, kind of vehicles. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing, and that we're right on schedule.
Yeah, that back end, that's uncanny.
That ass, you mean?
Yeah, well, just that flat surface. I mean, there's only 2 passengers. There's only 2 seats in the Cybercab. That looks accurate. Good job, Brian.
It could, yeah. There's there's not many parts to try and figure out what they are. It's a
Yeah.
really simple vehicle, and the it's beautiful. Having had a chance, three of us here got to talk with the engineers. They thought of everything. Everything in that vehicle has purpose, has intent, has forethought, and has been considered, reconsidered, tested, and retested. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one thing I will know, or I will say, is that obviously a lot of the engineering talent and a lot of the processes, obviously Lars is out here, and we know, shout out to Eric, who's the lead Cybercab engineer. They are out in the Bay Area, so we've seen them do things in the Bay Area first to do it testing to build out part of the production line. They did it with the Cybertruck. We saw it in the back, so it's very possible that they're definitely doing these, some of the production lines out here, and potentially just testing it out and seeing how they can get the production line moving. So that's also a very real thing too.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, Joe put together such a great deck. The hour went by so fast. We didn't even get to the upbeat. But I just wanted to do a quick showcase. I know, to both Brian and Hans, you guys both are running YouTube channels, and trying to put out a bunch of content. I know also too, Hans, you're also kind of in transition, but also going to continue to put out awesome content. I'll let you do the plug, but let's plug your channel and tell people about what people can expect from Hans C. Nilsson X account and YouTube account.
Well, part of that is, still under consideration. I have definitely wanted to just focus a lot more recently on the overall AI space than just the Elon and Tesla and XAI bubble. Obviously, that is something that I'm still very interested in and passionate about. And but really, I think to focus on the XAI story, I really have to broaden my coverage area. And I think that's more than likely going to be the direction that I'm moving. And then format will still be something that I'm just going to play with. There will be some podcasts, some short stuff that we're going to do that I'm right now already doing with David, that is weekly recordings, and we'll be distributing a couple of different short episodes similar to a Herbert style format, but a little bit different topic areas. And then, we'll be doing some podcasts there as well. And I'd like to figure out how to do a more long deep dive type show on the AI and the XAI space. But that's going to be something that we've got to figure out how to do and experiment with. So I don't want to get out too far over my skis and make promises to the audience about exactly what that's going to look like. But that's where we'd like to go. And
Yeah,
I
and
really appreciate the opportunity to share that.
Yeah, no, he's tagged on X and on YouTube, so make sure you go give him a follow. And Brian, you are in Nepal, but what can people, I think, on a general perspective, expect from your channel?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity as well. So what I do is I zoom out. I zoom all the way out. I know the factories very well, which is why Hans directed the question to me. I know the production. I've talked with the engineers at different companies, and I travel. I travel so much. I travel too much. 3-4 countries a year, dozens of states. And that's how I get the perspective that I have. I'm able to see the products, even the ones we don't get in the US. I'm able to talk to people who have them, who know them, who are impacted by different policies around the world. And it means that I'm not going to be covering exclusively Tesla like a lot of channels, but but it all ties back around. It all comes back around. So I'm covering Chinese cars, Indian cars, of course, all the Korean and European cars, the Japanese ones, if they would ever get serious and actually make some that are worth covering. I mean, I've still covered them. So what I try and do is bring all those pieces together, all those experts together, and give a product that is less influencer and more analyst. And it's a tough racket, but my audience seems to appreciate the subtle difference.
The subtle difference. And then Joe, how can people find you?
You can find me. Look to the stars, my friends. Look to the stars. No, I'm on everything. X, IG. I think for the club, we have a small little YouTube channel, but I just really focus on just putting stuff out on X and IG. I'm not trying to build a YouTube channel and do all that type of stuff. I just really like to get information out to the members and try to just have fun with life in general. So
Too much fun. Well, thank you again. I just want to say, and again, everyone like Brian and Hans, they give up their time each week to be co-hosts here. Joe as well, helps create the deck to keep us on track. So I just want to highlight them and all of their work. So please support them, tune into their stuff, comment, and give them all a follow. And if you are feeling extra special, also subscribe to them on X or specifically on YouTube as well. We will see you guys all next week. And that was episode 108. Have a good week, everyone.